I would like you to help me to welcome Steffen Erath and Marcel Kuckert as they're our corporate partners. Steffen is the head of innovation at Hansgrohe, and Marcel is supporting him at the department as a trainee. And they both prepared a tour to give you an introduction to the innovation lab that is a capacity of, I think, 50 employees. So I hope you're curious to hear more, and give me a big round of applause.
So thank you very much. I hope everybody's understanding me. So first I want to hand over to Marcel. Maybe you introduce yourself. You can do that much better than I do.
Of course. Hi, my name is Marcel. I'm 25 years old and trainee at Innovation Management, and today's project manager of the search field Health and Wellbeing. So within the Hansgrohe InnoLab, so I try with our team to develop some new innovation for us or for the consumer, I guess. That's right.
All right, so I try to share my screen. You give me some hands up. Yeah, you see it. I hope now we get the full screen mode. So we are the InnoLab. My name is Steffen Erath. I'm 35 years old. First important stuff, I'm married, I have 3 kids, I'm from the Black Forest, so I'm living somewhere behind these trees. It's in the southern part of Germany, and I'm working since 15 years for Hansgrohe, so I've never seen a different company. That's not good for me, but it's so exciting in Hansgrohe, and we have so diverse opportunities there that it's really a nice opportunity for me. So I started as a dual student. So in Germany, we have a dual studies. So you study 3 months at the university, you go 3 months to the company, and then you go back to university. And when you go back to the company, you go to a different department. So this is the dual system. And that's very successful in Germany. And later I started in the product management. I headed the product management department for 3 years. And then in 2017, we started a new project. We wanted to go digital. And this was the initial setup of the InnoLab. So we started with a team of 5 and we explored anew. And the challenge was make it digital. Nobody knew what this really means for Hansgrohe. And that's where we, learned how to live in a world where you have to explore and not to exploit. So that's the initial story about the InnoLab. So our mission within Hansgrohe, so you see this company, Hansgrohe, that's our company, Hansgrohe Group. The one or the other already experienced something with them. I hope for some of you it's in the morning, for others it's in the evening, when you take a shower or when you wash your hands. So it's a big chance that you wash your hands or take a shower beneath a Hansgrohe product. So we are doing showers, faucets. At the end of the day, we are selling shower experience and water experiences. So what we're going to talk today, it's 4 topics. Who are we? Then why do we exist? So especially the InnoLab. So where do we play and how do we work? So we start who we are. So, okay, I see now. You probably see the video screen as well at the side, or do you just see my slides?
That's
good. So I can put this down here. All right, so what you see here, it's Hansgrohe was founded 120 years ago. And since ever, the driving part of the business is doing or making innovations. So you see there was always a peak in sales, only the crisis in 2009, there was a little drop, but always we achieved to get more and more volume, more and more sales through innovation and through globalization. I will tell you in a second. And it's very profitable, the business. We are doing 1 billion turnover last year, and it's more or less 17% of EBIT. So it's very profitable, the business. So that's the story. But as you know, maybe the one or the other knows the book of Clayton Christensen. So the success of yesterday, that's the biggest hurdle of tomorrow. And the same goes with us. So as we are an innovation leader, what we call ourselves, that's the challenge for tomorrow. When you look at the world, so maybe 20 years ago, there were some white spots in our world map. And that was easy if you have a very good value proposition. In our case, it's products, physical products, faucets or showers. Then you can explore the new areas in the world. And that was one of the driving, besides innovation, the driving forces to make more turnovers, just to go international. Meanwhile, we are pretty international. So it's 39% of the turnover is international, 61% it's in Europe, and you see it's a big basket. And sometimes some countries go up, others go down, but it's a balanced portfolio. So at the end of the day, we have 34 direct subsidiaries, but Hansgrohe, it's not a family-owned business only. It's 32% of the business belongs to the founding family, the son Klaus Grohe. That's Hansgrohe, 32%, and 68% belongs to Masco Corporation. It's a US company. So that's the shareholders. That's us. So now we are talking about the InnoLab. And as I told you, we are one team or one department to really help to explore the new. And we have to make sure that we get new turnover potentials in the future. And here you just see a bunch of us. At the end of the day, we are around about 15 people. It's very diverse, different backgrounds, some freelancers there, even a dog, that's Shaggy. We will see later maybe what we do with the dog. So he has a very important part for us as well. It's a pretty young team, but we try to combine very young, fresh, different, diverse spirits, new ideas getting in the company, and combine it with very experienced managers and workers who work in the company maybe for 20, 30 years. These guys are not on this picture, but they are working with us together in the teams as well. And I think that's the important part, to bring the two worlds together. It's not always easy, but once you manage it, you have a lot of power in the market. So why we exist, I already said. At the end of the day, it's 5 goals or 5 things why we are there. The 5 main things are: we explore opportunities beyond existing category plans. We want to maintain innovation leadership, and we want to cultivate a fast learning organization and innovation culture. This means we do a lot of things ourselves. So we get or hire new people with new skills, new mindsets. We try to do everything ourselves because we want to learn out of it. And this means we build as well expertise, capabilities, which not only helps the InnoLab, but will help Hansgrohe as a group in the future. Because we do both, we're getting new talents into the Hansgrohe group, but as well within the Hansgrohe group, we are about 5,000 people working there. There is a lot of talents in there. And to give the talents a different career path, they can spend 1 year in the InnoLab. It's like you can spend in Germany, we say a freiwilliges soziales Jahr. So that's when you do instead to go to the army, you do your civil service. And we said that's your management service. So you do entrepreneurship 1 year, and whatever happens to your project, it doesn't matter. You can go back into the group and go on with your career path. And that's working pretty well. I will show you maybe later how we do this. But the important thing, what we do, where do we play? So sorry for the German words there, but I think the graph, it's very interesting for us. This is 2 axes. We have the growth potential and the time. And we think, so that's the day before yesterday, the growth potential with the core assortment was steady. And you can do incremental turnover by doing incremental innovation. But we see, so this graph says it was yesterday, that of course you have to do core business, you have to do incremental business, but you get only the big new exponential sales turnover when you do radical innovations. And when you look into today or tomorrow, they even added the disruption. So you have to disrupt the company. So that's 1 step too far for us. We concentrate on these 3 segments. It's core, incremental, and radical innovation. And this is what I want to explain to you right now. So we have here a typical portfolio. When you look in the core innovation, the big challenge is, and the big target is to sustain our business. If you're a soccer player or a football player, that's the defense. So if you do 1 billion turnover, you have to do a lot to keep the 1 billion turnover, because there are a lot of guys out there who want to have a chunk out of this 1 billion. So it looks like it's a small piece of the innovation cake, but this is actually the biggest part of it. So as we are doing showers and faucets for tens of years, we have to refresh the assortment. We have to cope with different certifications which are coming in, new trends coming in, new colors, all this stuff. This is the core business. Then we have the second segment, we call this incremental innovations. So to give you one example, it's, for example, you can go in this area where we say, okay, the products and the benefits for the customers, they are the existing ones. But for us, it's a new market. For example, when we are selling showers and faucets, why not selling toilets or drains or whatever? These are ideas like this, or accessories. So this is a possibility to extend your business. This means when you do an innovation project, the turnover you do, it's mostly incremental. It's not cannibalizing existing turnover. So that's the adjacent business. On the other hand, if you stay within your core competences and within your markets, for example, doing showers, you need a lot of innovation work. We call it incremental innovation to get new customers. For example, if you manage to reduce the flow rate by 10 to 20%, maybe you address now the customers of LOHAS, so the lifestyle of health and sustainability. So by adding air power, for example, we add air into water. So it's a mixture between water and air. It feels like the same amount of water, but it reduces the flow by approximately 10 to 20%. That's a typical incremental innovation, how you get additional incremental turnover. Now, the target of the InnoLab is to do both, to have absolutely new products, new benefits for customers in new market segments. So that's the top right corner of this innovation matrix. And this is really innovations which transform markets. So that's challenging because on the one hand, it has to be outside the box, but we say within the Hansgrohe box, because at the end of the day, it doesn't make sense that we produce rims, because then you say, okay, why is Hansgrohe doing rims or whatever? So stuff like this, it's very important to be really aggressive, to be radical, but to still stay within the box. That's why there is still a green box around it. And at the end of the day, you have to balance your portfolio. That's a management decision. So the strategy is to tell you, okay, how much of my resources do I invest in which category? And there are different opportunities, approaches. Maybe the one fitting best to us, it's the one of a diversified industrials company. So you invest 70% of your resources into core, 20% into incremental, and 10% into radical. As you can imagine, the more radical the innovation projects are, the more risky they are. So if you invest a lot in radical, that's a big risk that you lose your money. If you invest too much in the core, the risk is that you don't grow enough in the future, and maybe it's just defense. And just with the defense, it's going to be critical to grow over the next 10 to 15 years. So you have to mix and to balance the portfolio, and then you have to define what's the KPI, because at the long term, of course, you can say that's the turnover or that's the return on invest. But when you start these projects, it takes sometimes 5 to 10 years until you can measure it. Maybe we started with amount of projects, or how many budget do you put into which category. So that's a good example to start. Then still you need a playground. So you need some structure. If we set up teams, we have like 4 to 5 teams, and we leave them pretty alone. We have, of course, an innovation process, but the principles behind are much more important. But still, giving them too much freedom can be very, very difficult for them. You cannot imagine, but having a lot of freedom, you can get under pressure because you don't really know where to start. So what we did, this is more a strategic innovation framework. We looked at the mega trends, which kind of mega trends are around, and which one do we think can be combined and are important for Hansgrohe from a strategic viewpoint. And we defined these horizons. So when you look in the far, you see these mountains, and these are the 6 innovation playgrounds, or the 6 horizons where we want to play. And I just go over these. The first one is future housing. So as you know, things are changing. We thought before Corona that in 2050, 75% of the world's population will live in mega cities. And this means you have less and less space in your room. So you have, for example, when you go to London already, you see the rents are so high. So there is a butcher from 7 till 12, and later there's the cafe. So they share already the space. And we think when you look into the bathroom, maybe this makes sense as well. When are you using your bathroom? Does this really make sense to keep 10 square meters for the morning and the evening routine, or do we have to combine this this room where we have with other living areas? That's, for example, one challenge. Now let's see what Corona is doing. So we don't think that this COVID-19 pandemic will will totally change the mega trends, but it will influence them. And I think with this future housing, there we see a lot, because now people say people are living outside of the cities more and more. Maybe it will slow down this mega trend of urbanization, but we will see. For sure, this COVID-19 will influence the intelligent environment. This is more or less the digitization. So we want to have IoT products, but not for the sake of IoT, because we need a purpose behind. So we don't do digitalization for the sake of digitalization. We need a purpose behind. And for us, it's a lot to do with first collecting data and then connecting the data and see what additional benefits can we offer to people, for our customers, if we get this data. Because you can imagine, when we sell a product, normally it lasts until 15 till 20 years in the house. So you take a shower, 15 till 20 years. So every morning or every evening, you are naked in front of our products. You know, we have a very, very close customer relationship, but it's analog, it's disconnected. We don't know how they use our showers, how they use our faucets. And I think this could be a big, big opportunity for both, for customers and us, to get here more insights, because we are very close to the customers. It's a very intimate space where you are, and it's really very important for us to get more into a customer interaction. And we think through IoT, we will manage this. The third thing, we are going to be more a consumer brand. So we think lifestyles are changing. There's a new consumer base coming, it's the millennials. And when we look into the millennials consumer journey, it's totally different. So we already did one innovation project with the help of Instagram. So we have a lot of influencers and we do kind of co-development with them together. So you get very quick response in Instagram when you do new innovation approaches. Health and well-being for us, we see that the bathroom, it's the last retreat, you know, that's the last space in the house where you can really be for yourself. And we think this has something to do with health, a lot with health, with well-being. And with health, it's more about this preventive healthcare. So it's the health style. So a very healthy lifestyle. And a lot happens meanwhile in this health business with not physical disease, it's more mental disease. And we found out with psychologists, with a lot of doctors, that taking a shower, for example, or the water itself, the water experiences, they have a very positive effect against the symptoms of this hectic world. And there is a lot of treatments or kind of preventive treatments to counteract this, this negative trend what we are seeing. Then, last but not least, it's about sustainability. That's our core fundamental. Since the 70s, we are developing green eco products. Now everybody is about green. It's very urgent right now. But the thing we want to do here is to have, not these unicorn business models, all unicorns, that's 1 billion, the winner takes it all. It's more about, we call it the zebra business models. So zebra means it's black and white. So it's sustainable and it's economical. So it's both. It makes sense. It's profitable and sustainable. And if you really manage that this business model is profitable and sustainable, we think the lever is much bigger than just, nowadays you say, okay, how much do I want to invest into sustainability? And it has a bill, it costs something. But if you really manage that, you, for example, just one example, you use old plastics, you scratch it and you reuse it again. And this is, on the one hand, it's recycled plastic, so it's ecological because you don't need new plastics, virgin plastics. And on the other hand, maybe it saves you 10 to 20% of cost. These kind of projects, they make much more sense because then you don't see it as a customer. You will change all your production situations like this because everybody says, okay, this makes sense for the money as well. And that's really challenging, but that's the approach we are taking with sustainability. And last, yes, I said last but not least, it's sustainability. The commercial communication, it's another thing. It's our the least priority so far, but still we see that something is changing in this commercial communication. It has a lot to do with lifestyle and consumers. Yes, this is about omni-channel. That's already there. At the end of the day, it's about beyond product. So not just selling products, but what can we offer beyond? It's about servitization. But then anyways, in each, field of innovation, it's interacting with the others. So when we are looking into intelligent environment, we're looking as well into business models. The same with health and well-being. So it's a kind of interaction. But this is more or less the frameworks we send our teams. So we go on. How do we work? So now it's actually about the innovation process, but better than just telling you how the process is, it's the principles. So that's very important, the 4 principles, the core beliefs. So we trust users guide the way. So as we are in a field where there is a little experience, it doesn't make that top management tells us where to go and what to do. If we would know what to do and where to go, we write down a spec sheet and we do our product development process. That's fine. That's totally efficient and effective. But if you are in an area where you don't have a lot of knowledge, then it's about users. So that's has a lot to do with design thinking. Start with the users, talk to them, observe them, and try to imagine what could be a real problem they have. And later we do the ideation, but then we ask the users again, which kind of ideas do you like? Because you can define best what's good or not so good. So all of you probably know the statement of Henry Ford, and it fits here perfectly. If I ask my customers what do they want, they wanted to have faster horses. So he has to do the interpretation. They want to go faster from A to B. He's doing the ideation with his team, with coming out with a car, but then the user tells them if the car it's really better than a horse. So users don't tell you that you have to design a car. So that's what we think is co-creation. So observing customers, doing the ideation work with the specialist, going back to customers and ask them if they like it or not, and do this in an iterative way. Second, we embrace uncertainty. So we know that it's all about uncertainty, and we know it's about failure. And failure, it's really a part of the game. Everybody's telling this, but we really mean it like this. But you have to stay in your problem area. So we say, fall in love with the problem, not the solution, means if you fail with the solution, you learn a lot about the problem. So stay with the problem and try the next solution. That's why you have to fail early and fail fast and cheap and whatever. This is because you have to learn. And the more you learn, the less your innovation risk will be. We all know that this has to do with serendipity. So at the end of the day, you cannot force. If you stick to the process, that's not guaranteed that the innovation will come out. I think the potential that the innovation comes out, it's much higher, but it's no guarantee that it will come out. So it has all to do with serendipity. And we have to really spark this curiosity to get people really believe in it. And then it happens or it doesn't happen. That's very important for management as well. It has to do with serendipity. That's important because all the rest will be a lie. And we are hands-on. So we like to think with our hands. So we try it ourselves. We want to build it. We want to sell it. We want to get the customer feedback. We work very, very, very seldomly with agencies or with some guys who tell us what to do. We want to try it ourselves. And we think speed beats perfection any day. So it's more about the speed to get to the market, less about the quality. And that's the 4 steps. So prove there is a problem. Start with the problem, not the solution. Then prove your solution solves the problem. Prove they will pay, and prove you can scale. We add another one. We have to prove that we can make it, but this comes at last. So first, start with the problem. Give you 4 weeks. We say you have 4 weeks, 2,000 euro, a very, very little budget. Then when you're really sure that's the big problem, the pain we have to solve or a gain we have to create additionally, then start with the ideation. It's much easier then because you don't have to be very creative. If you do the first step very good, the second it's easy to do because you have so much, you found already your gold nuggets, you just have to combine it, and then it's serendipity at the end of the day, what helps and what not. But then if you have your idea, you have to do the mom test, maybe the book. Don't ask your mom because she will always tell you that your idea is nice. Ask the people and don't ask them if they like it. Ask them to pay for it. So pay can be give your phone number or really give some money on the table. That will be a lot of skin in the game. So that's very important because then you really see, is this real interest or are they just nice and don't want to be rude to you? But still then, the 4th step, it's important because it could be that the person really pays for it, but it's only 5 people, then it doesn't make sense. Make sure your business model or idea is scalable because only then it makes sense for bigger companies to invest in this idea. So I will go on. That's the process, how it looks now with us. It's more or less the same. It's a lean startup process. It's the problem solution fit first. So we define the innovation area. So for example, sustainability. Then we define a challenge, and then we leave the team. And they have 4 weeks for each phase. And they have a given budget for it. And then each time they pitch and they go on. And we have a big board meeting after 3 months. That's the innovation board with the CEO, CFO on board, some external guys. And they define if we go in the next step or not. And important is when you have a problem solution fit. So when you prove that the people will pay for it, we do this with prototype. So we pretend to have a prototype. So it could be a very, very easy mock-up. Then we don't go into serial production. We go into prototype production. So then we do maybe a batch of 10 or 15, and we really try to sell it and to see how the sales process works. And only then, if we do the sandbox experiment, so only selling 10 or 50 or 100 pieces, if we manage to do this in your local area, then it's easier to make the business case and scale. So writing a business case at the beginning, yeah, this is very uncertain that it's true. A business case never is true. But it makes a lot of sense writing the business case after the product market fit, when you prove you can scale, when you prove you can make, and when you prove they paid for it. Because then you know all the metrics to write a really good business case. Before, it's just guessing. And here we think innovation risk is really down, and then you can make the big investments and go into the real development. So I have to hurry up a little bit. It's already 9. That's a framework. You know it from maybe Strategizer. That's a company we take a lot of methodologies from. So it's the lean startup way or the corporate startup. So there is this ambidextral situation. You have this exploration situation and the exploitation. And all of the InnoLab projects per definition are in the explore segment, because in the explore, that's the unknown, the uncertain. And here you have the expected return. We use here the metrics of turnover within 5 years, and you have innovation risk. And when you listen carefully to the Strategizer, it's about having at the beginning 90% of innovation risk. So every project starts with a 90% innovation risk. And you can do some big bets and say, okay, that's the risk, I take it, and we go directly into series production or development. That's okay. But from our point of view, it's better, to do little experiments. So the statistics say, if you start with 10 concepts, so you already have the problem. Now we have 10 concepts where we say, okay, people probably would buy them. Then 4 will really, make as much money as you invest, you get back. The other 6, the money you invest, it's gone. So that's lost money. And out of these 4, they say 1 really achieves that you can put 1 million in there and you get 5 to 10 million back. And this is really metrics. They are from a book, so from academia, but they really correlate with our innovation projects. So that's really the same metrics we have at Hansgrohe. So there are a lot of projects which are lost. There are some projects, exactly the money you invest, you get back, but that's not a business. And there are 1 out of 10, more or less, which really makes some money. So the idea now is not investing in every project the same amount of money, because that won't make sense. That just is not the business we want to do. If you invest, they call it metered funding. So invest small bets, take small bets in the beginning, 1 to 2,000 euro, 20 to 40,000 euro in this phase, and the 2 million only in this phase. This makes the business really profitable. And often it's the projects, the least expected projects, which really makes it, because as we say, nobody has an idea what this new area means for us. So it doesn't make sense that management takes the decision which projects to fund. It's the users who makes the decision which projects to fund. And that's the idea we are working. So we are doing some experiments, hypotheses. We are rating the risk. How much risk does each hypothesis have? And then we are conducting experiments. And as you see, the experiments, they are very, very cheap. So compared to a standard innovation project, these experiments you do, they are very cheap and you get very good results. You always have to look into the confidence. If you're just asking somebody if they like it or if they have the problem, the confidence is low. If they really pay for it, for example, give your handy or your mobile number or really some prepayments, then the confidence is high. And this is pure mathematics, how you can reduce the risks And in this innovation project, we are at a risk level of 32%. And then it's management decision. How much do I have to lower the risk until I do the big investment? That's more experiments. I skipped them. Yeah, but that's it at the end of the day. So I want to come to an end. I just show you 2 examples what we did, that you get an idea what's coming out of it. This was a lot of theory. Now let's see what some innovation projects look like at Hansgrohe. So we do this at the end. So this was in the search field, intelligent environment. It's about make it digital. What does digitalization mean? This is something where we found out at the end, after this process or these principles, that it's not about making it digital. It's, you know, counteracting the symptoms of digitalization. So the bathroom, it's the last room to retreat. And we are using digitalization to help to calm down from digitalization. So what we did, it's a multi-sensual shower experience. We are trying to sell or offer experiences, not products. And experiences means, I think you don't hear it here, but we developed together with we have a bicycle team, we sponsor one, with the trainer, different temperature curves after a workout, for example, different water pressures. We develop a special sound, key visual, fragrance, all together, orchestrated, mix it up so that you get a really individual shower experience depending what you're doing. So it's more than 40 experiences, waking up, going to bed, after sports, on weekends. So there's a lot of different occasions when you take a shower, and we designed these experiences in this search field. So here it's not about selling products. Of course, it works with the shower, but it's more about selling experiences. It's like Spotify for the shower. Number 2, that's a very funny project. A lot of people think it doesn't make sense, but look at this room. It's Django's room, and Django, it's not a kid. Django is this little dog over here. So more and more people are treating the dogs like kids. So it's for Instagram customers, but as well, so for millennials we decided, but as well for the baby boomers when the kids are leaving their house, their homes, so they feel a little bit lonely. So dogs are really living now. Maybe not every dog lives like Django, but a lot of dogs are in the rooms. And when they are in the room, in the house, they smell, and people don't like that dog smell. So they shower their dogs, or at least they put some shampoo in there. And we found out that when the people put the shampoo into their dogs, they don't rinse it perfectly. And that's why we designed Furly. So that's a dog shower. And we have long nozzles to really rinse out the shampoo out of dog. And we increase the dog washing experience by far. So 9 out of 10 dogs don't like to be washed. And with Furly, it's much higher. So we have there all of the core competences of Hansgrohe. We have the select technology, so to change the spray modes. We have long nozzles, but we designed this stuff normally for men and women. But now with dog, it makes a lot of sense. So we help to prevent skin irritation and reduce trust issues. And we make dog parents' life easier by providing higher usability. And it really pays out, and people are loving it. So we launched it on Instagram, and we already have meanwhile, more than 3,000 followers. You can check it out and pre-orders. This is what we do. We are collecting pre-orders. It's not under the brand of Hansgrohe yet. It's a really rough prototype. It's made out of 3D printing, not from plastic injection, but this makes us really, really speedy. So this took us from the first concept until the first sales, real product sales, 4 to 5 months. And that's really much faster than normally in the product development. But of course, it's not the Hansgrohe quality yet. Still, it complies with all the regulations. But now we can start to really design it according to Hansgrohe standards, because we know people love it. And so you will see this product probably in 3 to 4 months in the market. So that's some of the ideas we're having. And here, that's the final slide I want to show you. So that's very important to understand. So here we have this innovation lab. We have our lean startup process, which is very flexible. It's about exploration. We only sell 1% of the later amount, we think. We are doing this under non-official test brands. So we have innovation brands, not the Hansgrohe brand. We are addressing early adopters. It's all about speed and achieving product market fit. There is, and that's very important, there is, when you are in the exploitation phase, a really need to use the new product development process. So the stage gate, what what a lot of you will probably know from when they are working in companies, the product development process, this makes sense. And I don't want to change the product development process and everybody should work like I just explained to you, because this would make it very confusing. So once you're sure what your business case looks like, then write on the spec sheet and then use the product development process. That's the easiest and fastest way to get to your goal. But once you don't have an idea, then you have to work rather likely in the InnoLab. So that's my closing word. Thank you very much for giving me your attendance. And if you are right now having some questions, I'm open to ask this question. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Steffen and Marcel, for joining us today to show more about your innovation approach at Hansgrohe, which we learned is not only a road biking sponsor, but yeah, feel free. The chat is open for asking any type of questions. Maybe you're curious to hear what is in the product development timeline, roughly, for example, Furley, or if you are interested in the new challenges that they are bearing to face, let us know in the chat if you're interested. Maybe in the meantime, you said that the COVID might change a little bit of your expectation or your future thoughts on how the bathroom usage will change. Are there other challenges you think of facing now in the future?
Yeah, for us, it has a lot to do with interaction with the customers. And when you have a lockdown, it's very difficult for us to go into these interactions. And doing it by phone or by video, it's not that good than being really there at the customer's place. So that's a little bit the challenge we have. So it's always working better when you're directly talking to customers and you see the complete body language, how they respond to your product, than just sitting in front of your laptop or in front of your telephone. So that's the thing when it's about the processes. From the mega trends, we see that we thought we don't talk about hygiene in the bathroom. We thought this was 30 or 40 years ago. That was the reason why everybody has a bathroom. We thought now it's about the experience. But now COVID tells us, okay, it's about hygiene as well. Maybe not in the personal bathroom, but in the semi-public areas. There we see a lot of hands-free faucets, touchless, all this stuff. So hygiene is coming back as a big topic, and I think it will stay there for a while.
Mm-hmm. Sure. And thank you. Matteo Vignoli, he's from the University of Bologna. Do you mind coming on stage and asking your couple of questions you have?
Yeah, ciao. Thank you for sharing. That was a really great presentation. I have a couple of questions. The first one is what method you use to connect with user needs. You mentioned a lot of problems, which is something that we like to couple with opportunities. So not only the negatives, but also the positives. So some hints for the students on how that works. And second is about the connection with the stage and gate, because we believe that when you have such a radical innovation, connecting into the flow of how a company does innovation is not easy. So how you successfully manage that could be a great addition to a great closing of our projects. Thanks.
Yeah, so I start with the second question. That's the one of connecting with the stage gate. And that's really the most critical one, to be honest. You have to make sure that you don't have two silos and that you say you have the innovation lab and you have the development department, and then you throw the project over the fence and say, now it's up to you. So that doesn't work. So the most important part is this transition phase. And when you are sure, when we are in the product market phase and we are already testing, we are trying to get team members of the later stage gate process already on board so that they experience themselves what it's all about. And later, when you then hand over the project, so meanwhile, we say in the InnoLab, we stay within the InnoLab to do the first, for example, you have a business case, 20 million euro turnover. We say the first 1 or 2 million we catch ourselves. So we already prove that we are right. And then catching another 18 million or 19 million, that's easier for core business, because then they believe in your business, and then there is a like of competition of the departments who's getting our project, because everybody wants to do 18 or 19 millions on top. But just handing over a business case, they don't believe in it, because they've seen a lot of business cases with a lot of big numbers. So you need some skin in the game as well to, you know, they are your customers, and you have to convince them that your idea is the right one. So that's important, but it's not easy. And it has a lot to do with psychology, and you have to let it go. As an innovation team, you have to let go. And if they think the colors are not the right one, I make it brown and whatever, yellow, and let them do it. Don't argue with them, let them make them their own experience. Otherwise, they don't have like this emotional connection to the project, and you need it. It's like your own baby, and now you have to give your baby away, and the other one has to adopt it. It's very difficult. Yeah. What was the first question again? I didn't get it.
The question was basically
in the chat.
Yeah, what method do you use to connect with users, and how you gather user needs and you know, problems and
methods you use to connect with users? Yes. Okay. So how to connect with users? First, it's the first one is the easiest one. The cheapest one is just to ask them, to interview them. But sometimes that what they tell you, it's not what they mean. So you have to observe them, and you have to do the brain work. If they tell you, for example, sometimes we're going, this was in the product management, you can do this there as well. And we look how they're using the faucet. And then you see he's always opening the faucet like with the elbow. And we say, hey, why do you do this with the elbow and not with the hand? And he didn't knew that he's doing something awkward. But then the brain work says, okay, this guy, this was already 2 or 3 years ago. He was a little bit, he didn't like bacteria. So he was very, very, frightened about virus, bacteria, and this stuff. And that was why he's always opening the lever with the elbow. And you have to observe this. And later we designed the select button so he can press it with the elbow. And this was much better for him. But sometimes what they tell you and what you see is different. Then, of course, you can do a lot of online. We do this oft with SurveyMonkey. But this is always, a lot of things which are between the lines, you don't see it. So the best way is really go out and talk to them, look at them, observe them. But virtually, you can do SurveyMonkey. You go into chat rooms. You go into places like Instagram, where people talk about it, share some images and videos. That's how you learn from the first thing, from the beginning. Or you can do focus groups, but I don't like focus groups, to be honest. A lot of agencies do focus groups, but there's always a group dynamic in there. You never know, is this now a real, or do they just try to convince the other team members? So we always do it face to face. That's the best way to do it.
Thank you. I think that's a great hint for our teams.
Thank you. So more questions.
Thank you. We have one more question from Matthäus. Do you want to?
What is the biggest challenge, moving from a prototype to a product?
Exactly, yes.
Okay, so we start with the prototype, and I think I would start with the prototype. So pretend to have a prototype. This comes from design thinking, lean startup, whatever. So that this phrase doesn't come from us. But I think the most challenging part is to start with the prototype, because you have to really be ashamed of your first prototype. A lot of people are too perfect, so they want to do the perfect prototype, and they're working on stuff people don't really like or need. So the prototype can really be a first drawing, or do it with Lego or whatever, but it's about getting the idea of your head onto a paper or make it visual. Because when I think of an apple, my apple could be red hanging on the tree and already somebody has a worm on it or whatever. If you're thinking on an apple, it could be green, or you think on a laptop apple, and to put these ideas really on the table, then you're talking about the same stuff. That's the most important thing. And then when you really are sure that that's what it is, then you do this minimal, we call it minimal sellable product, or some people call it minimal viable product. So you really try to do a prototype. And this prototype you can buy. And there it's about, you have to keep the regulations. So you have to make sure that nobody's getting hurt with this prototype. But maybe you don't need to have the standards a company has, which is already there since 120 years. So often they have too high standards. And what we do, we let it check. So that's as well, you have to be a good friend with lawyers. So the lawyers have to help you with this. You have to always stay at the before the border. It has to be compliant, everything you do. So don't do stuff which will hurt some people, but it's possible. You can really downgrade your products to the minimum, and it won't hurt you, it won't damage anybody, and then get out in the market, the sooner the better. And if it breaks after 2 days, it's not good, but then give them a new one and a 20 euro Amazon voucher, and it's fine. The people, the early adopters, they are okay with it. They are not so like the late majority people who will put a shitstorm over you. They really say, okay, give me the next one, I try it out. And for us, important is not to use big brands. If we use, for example, Hansgrohe as a brand, first, I think the people are biased. So the people who know Hansgrohe, they think, okay, if Hansgrohe is on it, it's the quality I expect. And second, if it's really breaking or broken and some people will complain, it will really damage the brand. So that's why I would always do it with an innovation brand. So make up your own innovation brands and do it with these innovation brands. Nobody has to know it. It's just to make sure to be safe.
Perfect. Thank you so much. In the chat, we have had a couple of good links shared by Marcel. Thank you for that. And I also shared both of your LinkedIn profiles. So in case students maybe are interested in having further questions whatsoever, they can directly get in contact with you. So don't be surprised that all these sugar students want to connect. Also using this as an opportunity if more questions arise at a later point. For us nowadays, I think we need to give a big round of applause to you both for taking out the time for giving us our virtual company tours. And we are curious to see what the 9 months bring with the challenge from Hansgrohe. Thank you so much.
Yes, well, I'm looking forward to working with you.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye.